जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी।
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 जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी।
गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी।
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी।
गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी।
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन।
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन।
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन।
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन।
यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादां सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। I am happy to be here with all of you on the Practical Spirituality channel. This is the first time I am here on this platform, and I am happy that you all get together and discuss and hear from other devotees too about the practical applications of Krishna consciousness. So today, being the appearance day of Srila Ramanujacharya, it is appropriate to speak about the lessons that we can learn from his life and teachings. Ramanujacharya, as we all know, is the Sampradaya Acharya of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. The Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya is one of the four Sampradayas, Vaishnava Sampradayas, that we are all familiar with. We are part of the Brahma Sampradaya, whose founder is Brahma. And then we have the Rudra Sampradaya, whose Sampradaya Acharya is Vishnu Swami. For the Brahma Sampradaya, it is Madhvacharya. And we also have the Kumara Sampradaya. The founder Acharya for that is, or rather the Sampradaya Acharya is Nimbarkacharya. So each of these Acharyas have propounded a particular variant of the Vedanta philosophy. It's Vaishnava Vedanta philosophy. Generally, people think in terms of Vedanta only as being Shankaracharya's impersonalist philosophy, but that is not the case. As Srila Prabhupada points out on numerous occasions, there is also something called Vaishnava Vedanta. It is actually the original genuine Vedanta. And each of the four Vaishnava Sampradayas have their bona fide, shall we say, understandings of the Vedanta Sutra. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sampradaya, which is an offshoot of the Madhva Sampradaya, we have the Gaudiya Sampradaya, that also has its own unique Vedanta teachings. The commentary was written by Baladev Vidyabhushan. But in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, we accept the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the natural commentary of the Vedanta Sutra, to be the commentary itself. We don't feel the necessity for another separate commentary. So in any case, Srila Ramanujacharya is the Sampradaya Acharya of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya that advocates the philosophy of Vishishtadvaita. So the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya is filled with many very exalted devotees. And we have the famous Alvars, the 12 Alvars, who lived in the beginning of Kali Yuga and also at the end of the previous Yuga, that is the Dwapar Yuga. And they were Mahabhagavats, they were pure Paramahamsa devotees of the Lord. And they spontaneously penned or composed rather many devotional songs and hymns which are collectively called the Divya Prabandha. Divya Prabandham is actually the Tamil Vedanta. The Vedanta in the Tamil language, in the ordinary language of the people of that land in South India and in those days. So the Alvars was succeeded by a series of great acharyas, starting with Yamunacharya. And then came Ramanujacharya. So these acharyas were not only exalted devotees themselves, but they also were involved very much in missionary activities, which means in propagating the cult of pure devotion to one and all. And so they actually established temples, they established modes of worship, and they preached to the people at large about the path of devotion to God. So they very much mingled with people and they went out in the society to spread the message of devotion to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So Ramanujacharya has played a stellar role in this, and that is why he is considered the Sampradaya Acharya of the Sri Sampradaya. Now, the pastimes of Srila Ramanujacharya and his teachings, and in fact the teachings of the whole Sampradaya, bear many parallels with the lives and teachings of the Gaudiya Acharyas and also what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught. And we'll see that as we move along. So the teachings of Ramanujacharya, as can be expected, are very vast. and full of sublime siddhantas, sublime conclusions. At the same time, they're all dripping in the pure nectar of pure devotional exchanges between the devotees and also between the Lord and his devotees. So today I will discuss only a few of those interactions. The first that I propose to discuss is the relationship between Srila Ramanujacharya and Kanchipurna. And I'll talk about a few pastimes that happened there. So Kanchipurna was not born in a Brahmana family, but he was a very, very exalted devotee. He was so exalted that the deity in the temple would actually converse with him. So that was very special. And he lived in a place called Kanchipuram in the present day state of Tamil Nadu, where there is a very famous temple of Varadaraj. Varadaraj means the bestower of benedictions. Vara means benedictions, Da means giver, and Raj means the king. So he would worship, or he would rather be in front of the deities and have exchanges with the deity. So this was something very special. It is not that any devotee can have such exchanges where the deity will actually speak. Like we are speaking with, we can speak with each other. Similarly, the deity would speak, deity and Kanchipurna would have conversations. Now, when Yamunacharya departed from the physical plane, from this world, Ramanujacharya just missed having his association prior to the departure. But in any case, he was very distraught with grief, and he came back to Kanchipuram from Srirangam, where Yamunacharya had departed. And his mother, Ramanuja's mother, told him, why don't you go and take some instructions from Kanchipurna, because he's such an exalted devotee of the Lord. Now, Ramanujacharya was from a Brahmana family. And naturally his mother was also a strict follower of the Vaishnava path and also of Brahminical culture. But she did not hesitate to send her son to Kanchipurna, who was not a Brahman by birth. She said, go there and get good instructions from him because he's such an exalted devotee. So this indicates that in the Sri Sampradaya, and Ramanujacharya will further exemplify this in his own conduct, there was no consideration of the physical, or shall we say the material background of a person. What was important was the level of devotion. And we see that many times in our Sampradaya as well. So Ramanujacharya went to Kanchipurna and asked for some service, and Kanchipurna told him to serve Lord Varadaraj by bringing him every day water for his various purposes. There was a designated well only for the deity of the Lord. So he would go and fetch the water every day and do this service. And he was very, very inspired by the example of Kanchipurna. One day he invited Kanchipurna home. And so when the time for his arrival neared, Ramanujacharya actually walked towards the house of Kanchipurna to fetch him. Now meanwhile, Kanchipurna had left already for Ramanuja's house, but he went from another route. So they missed each other on the path. So Kanchipurna reached the house of Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya's wife was there at home, and she was expecting him. So she fed him prasadam, and Kanchipurna was in a hurry to go back and resume his services. So he did not wait for the return of Ramanuja. Ramanuja must have been searching for him. So anyway, Kanchipurna left, and meanwhile Ramanuja returned home. And he found that the guest whose arrival he had been expecting with great anticipation, had already left. So then he inquired from his wife as to whether she had fed him properly. And she replied that, well, yes, I fed him the prasadam, and because he's not a Brahman, therefore I fed the remnants of his food, whatever was remaining, I fed it to our servant. And also, because he's not a Brahman, after he departed, I washed the place where he was sitting for prasadam with water and cow dung as well, to purify the place. And not only that, in order to atone for this act, I have taken a bath myself. Now Ramanujacharya was aghast. He was shocked to hear this. And he reprimanded his wife. And he said, don't you understand the exalted status of this devotee? And you have committed such a big offense against this devotee. And I don't know what will happen to all of us. So you please, so he was dumbstruck. He did not know what to say. And he rebuked his wife with very strong words. In fact, as we will see, maybe not today, but we all know from Ramanuja's pastimes that when this sort of thing happened, twice more and on several occasions he could see that his wife was doing this, he actually left and took sannyas. So in any case, the lesson we learn from this is that in the path of devotion, there is no question of any discrimination. There is no question of distinguishing between so-called high caste, so-called low caste. These things don't matter. The only thing that matters is devotion to Lord Krishna. So therefore, if somebody is a very qualified devotee of Lord Krishna, it should be a great honor for us to invite that devotee home, offer that devotee prasadam, offer our respects to that person, regardless of the birth of that devotee. So a very important lesson. We find this in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, very much so. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had many followers who were not Brahmins. And amongst his descendants, we had, for example, Narottam Das Thakur, who was not born in a Brahmin family. But he had disciples who were born in very aristocratic Brahmin families. And there are numerous instances like this amongst the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we can see a strong parallel here. So Ramanujacharya appeared a little over 1,000 years ago. So we see that this path of social reform was actually begun by Ramanujacharya in South India, where everything was very conservative. So in fact, even today in Melkote, which is near Mysore in Karnataka, where Ramanujacharya stayed for many years, he fled from Sri Rangam to avoid the persecutions of a king there, a local king. So in Melkote, there is a famous temple, Tirunarayana temple, and there are elaborate protocols and rituals for the worship of the deity there. And Ramanujacharya arranged for participation in these rituals even by members of the so-called lower castes. They were also involved, and they would participate in the temple in all these worship procedures, like playing the trumpet, and they would actually lead the whole contingent that would go to offer respects to the Lord. So we see that this is a very important teaching from the life of Ramanuja and from his example, and this is confirmed very much by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers, that we should not discriminate between people on the basis of birth. It doesn't matter what so-called caste they are from, what language they speak, whether they are rich or poor, whether they are from this country or another country, from what religious background they come. It doesn't really matter. What matters is devotion. So Ramanuja was very much inspired by Kanchipurna. At one point, he went to Kanchipurna and requested him to ask Lord Varadaraj in the temple, the deity, the answers to some questions that he had in his mind that he was grappling with. So Kanchipurna went and he asked the deity, and he conversed with the deity. He said, oh Lord Varadaraj, your great devotee Ramanuja is asking these questions. He has these questions and he requests you to please answer them. Ramanuja had asked 6 questions, and so the Lord gave these 6 answers to Kanchipurna, and Kanchipurna went and relayed those answers to Ramanujacharya, who was overjoyed to receive that. Not only that, the Lord had actually recognized him and recognized him enough to actually personally answer all those questions, but he was also happy to actually get the answers themselves. He had been puzzled about the answers. And one of the answers that Lord Varadaraj gave was that for a prapanna means one who has surrendered to the Lord. For a surrendered soul, it is not imperative that one thinks of Krishna at the time of death. Now you will remember from Bhagavad Gita that Krishna says, Antakale chamameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati sammadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayah. So one who remembers Krishna at death, he will attain to me. And we have heard this very rightly so, that at the end of life one must remember Krishna with love, and one will go back to Krishna, to Krishna's kingdom. One will be released from this cycle of birth and death. However, what Ramanuja is saying here is that, or rather what Lord Varadaraj told Ramanuja is, that if one is a surrendered soul, then even if one is not able to remember Krishna at the time of death, nevertheless the Lord takes care of that devotee. Now this is very reassuring to us. It's a very important lesson for us. Many times devotees become a little anxious, or they ask questions. What if we are not able to remember Krishna at the time of death? There may be so many problems. We may die in our sleep, or some devotee may die in an accident, or perhaps in a comatose condition. So what would happen to such devotees? So the answer is that Krishna will not only consider what you have remembered at the time of death. He will also see, very importantly, how you have led your whole life, whether you have lived the life of a surrendered devotee. And if one has indeed been a surrendered devotee, then Krishna will take care of that devotee. It doesn't matter if that devotee is able to remember the Lord at the time of death or not. So this is something that is very reassuring to us. It gives us confidence and faith in the mercy of the Lord. Therefore, the lesson here is that one must remain a surrendered devotee throughout one's life. One must steadily, rigorously practice Krishna consciousness and not wait only till the end of life to think that I can relax now and I will start thinking of the Lord only at the time of death. Because we don't know when death will come. So therefore we should remain faithfully surrendered, and then the Lord takes care of all of us. So this is the lesson to be learned from Ramanuja's dealings with Kanchipurna. I've mentioned only a few. Now, another thing that Ramanuja did, apart from introducing, accepting those who are born in non-Brahmana families as his guides and as his dear associates, he also introduced the compositions of such exalted devotees into the worship protocols of the deity. I mentioned the alvars at the beginning of the talk. Now these alvars were spontaneous devotees. They would burst into song, all of a sudden being inspired by their devotional sentiments. And then these songs were captured by their followers. And so we had numerous works which were later in Kali Yuga then put down in written form. So these works or these compositions were in the local vernacular, in the Tamil language, not in Sanskrit. Now, thus far, it had always been the tradition that whatever was chanted in the temple in front of the deities would be in the Sanskrit language. The mantras, the recitations, the chants would all be Sanskrit. But Ramanujacharya included the chanting in the Tamil language also, which was very significant because the Lord doesn't distinguish between Tamil or Sanskrit or French or Punjabi or any language. The Lord understands any language. The Lord understands principally the language of devotion. And in whichever language the devotee approaches the Lord very happily accepts it. At the same time, because the Sanskrit language is the language of the gods, it's the language of the spiritual world, it is a language of most of our scriptures, therefore it is a notable custom, a notable practice that we also chant these Sanskrit mantras like Brahma Samhita, the Shikshashtakam, and so on. So we find this in the Gaudiya Sampradaya also. Narottam Das Thakur, for example, wrote many songs, devotional songs, which were composed in very simple Bengali language, so that the ordinary person of that place and age could understand also. Bhakti Vinod Thakur also wrote such songs. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and Vrindavan Das Thakur wrote biographies of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the local vernacular Bengali language. So, many of the songs of our acharyas we chant in front of the deities in the temple. For example, our Tulasi Puja, it's a Bengali song that we chant. So in this way, many of the things find parallel in the Gaudiya Sampradaya also, because the Siddhanta or the conclusion is that Krishna is Bhavagrahi Janardana. He is the Lord who accepts the bhava or the mood of devotion of the devotee. Whilst language is important, but in comparison to devotion, it is secondary. So Ramanujacharya actually introduced the formal practice of reciting the Divya Prabandham stotras in the temples of the Sri Vaishnava tradition. So again, a very important lesson to learn. Whilst we should learn our Sanskrit mantras, and when we go in front of the deities, it is nice to recite some shlokas from the Bhagavatam or Brahma Samhita, and if nothing, at least the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But if we can't do that, we can pray to the Lord in our own language, whichever that may be, and there is no problem. The Lord will understand if we are praying with devotion and sincerity. So this is another lesson that we learn from Srila Ramanujacharya. Now, one more relationship that I want to speak about is the relationship between Ramanujacharya and another exalted devotee called Goshtipurna. Goshtipurna was a great scholar as well as a great devotee. And Ramanujacharya wanted to learn the explanations, the esoteric explanations of certain mantras from him. And he lived quite a distance away from where Ramanuja was staying. So Ramanuja went there. It was a long walk, and he reached the cottage of Goshtipurna. And he knocked on the door, and Goshtipurna asked, "Who is it?" And Ramanuja replied, "It is I, Ramanuja." So there was a surprising reaction from Goshtipurna, who was inside the room. Goshtipurna said, "Come back when I am dead." So Ramanuja was surprised by this answer, but nevertheless, being humble and obedient, he went back. He didn't protest or argue. So he went back to his place in Srirangam. After a certain period had elapsed, he again came, walking to Goshtipurna's cottage. He knocked again, and again Goshtipurna asked from inside, "Who is it?" And Ramanuja said again, "It is I, Ramanuja." Again Goshtipurna replied, "Come back when I am dead." So in this way, Ramanuja was thwarted in his attempts to understand this very deep knowledge, secret knowledge from Goshtipurna. Now this happened not just 2 times or 3 times, but a full 17 times. So Ramanuja did not lose heart. He did not lose enthusiasm. So this is a lesson to us that we should not lose our heart, become disheartened, or lose our enthusiasm when it comes to understanding Krishna consciousness, when it comes to doing devotional service. There will be many impediments that come in the path. Sometimes these impediments will come from surprising sources and in surprising manners. But regardless of that, we should understand this as Krishna's arrangement, and we should remain enthusiastic and determined to make progress in our Krishna consciousness. So Ramanuja was not discouraged. He went back the 18th time. And this time also Goshtipurna said, "Who is it?" And this time Ramanuja did not say, "It is I, Ramanuja." He said, "This is Adiyan." In Tamil, the word Adiyan means humble servant. So Ramanuja this time on the 18th occasion said, "This is your humble servant." At this point, Goshtipurna said, "Yes, come in." So this was very surprising. So immediately Ramanuja understood what the reason was. So what is the reason behind this? Now, when Ramanuja said, "It is I, Ramanuja," Goshtipurna replied, "Come back when the I is dead." The word I indicating that any sense of ego. And when Ramanuja introduced himself as Adiyan, as his humble servant, that is when Goshtipurna allowed him. So an important lesson to learn from this is that regardless of who we are, materially or spiritually, whether we are new devotees, whether we are very exalted devotees, it doesn't matter. The devotees will always consider themselves to be the servants of the Lord and His devotees. Humble servant, this is the real designation. This is the real I. Otherwise, when we speak in terms of I, there is a likelihood of some kind of ego creeping into our consciousness. But when we always remind ourselves that we are the servant, we're the humble servant of the devotees of the Lord, and we try to act in that manner, then the Lord and His pure devotees are very pleased with us. And then all the secrets of Krishna consciousness will automatically be revealed to us from without and from within. So it takes not just determination, not just enthusiasm, but also it takes humility. We cannot expect to learn spiritual knowledge when there is pride within the heart. So this is a very important lesson from this pastime. Then when Ramanuja entered and he offered his obeisances, Goshtipurna offered his blessings, and Ramanuja inquired philosophically, and Goshtipurna explained all the secret knowledge of devotion to Ramanuja. to Ramanuja's full satisfaction. And when he did that, Goshtipurna also put forward a condition. That condition was that he should not reveal this knowledge to anybody, because it was only meant for someone who is very, very qualified to receive it. So Ramanuja agreed to this condition and he stepped out. And as he was walking, he came to the local temple that was right near the house of Goshtipurna. He saw there were many people assembled around there, and he felt immense compassion for them in his heart. So he climbed on to an elevated place that was near the temple, and he spoke in a loud voice to the people assembled there. Come here, come here. I want to give you a very important and secret message that will make your life perfect. So in great curiosity and with great eagerness, all the people gathered together. And Ramanujacharya then told them the mantra that he had learnt from Goshtipurna and said, if you recite this mantra, you will be delivered from material existence and you will go back to Vaikuntha and you will be with the Lord eternally and attain blissful eternal life. So the people who had assembled there very joyfully heard this message and repeated the mantra. And soon everybody was repeating this mantra, and they were getting purified, and the love of Godhead was developing in their hearts. Meanwhile, Goshtipurna heard this, and he was infuriated. He came to Ramanuja and said, Ramanuja, don't you know what you have just done? I had warned you not to give this to anybody and to keep it a secret. But right after stepping out of my cottage, you have gone and told us to one and all without any discrimination, without even considering their qualification or lack of it. Don't you know that this is a kind of act that leads to hellish destinations? So Ramanuja fell down at the feet of Goshtipurna, offered his full prostrated obeisances, and in great humility replied, I do know, my master, that I will go to hell. But when I heard from your lotus mouth that anyone who chants this mantra will actually be delivered from the suffering of material existence and will go to Vaikuntha to be with our beloved Lord Narayan forever, I could not resist the temptation of telling them all. So, if it is a question of me going to hell, and the benefit there is that everybody else will go back to Vaikuntha, I am prepared for this. So Goshtipurna was struck with wonder. He was stunned. He could not understand the kind of thing that this young devotee had just said. He embraced him and said, from today your name will be Emberumanar, which means my master. He said, I have never seen compassion like this in my life. So today you have become like my guru, because you have taught me a very valuable lesson. So here we learn from Ramanujacharya's example that the spirit of compassion is very important in spiritual life. What goes against compassion is anger. So instead of getting angry at people, we should be kind and compassionate to people by giving them Krishna consciousness. Of course, the exalted devotees may sometimes externally display anger, but that anger is also a manifestation of their kindness and compassion upon others. But nevertheless, as ordinary devotees, our task is to be kind and compassionate to everyone and share whatever we have learned in Krishna consciousness with everybody without discrimination. So this is an important lesson that we learn from Ramanujacharya's interactions with Sri Goshtipurna. Now, since we've been speaking about a temple and the kind of reforms that Ramanujacharya introduced there, he also introduced several administrative reforms in the temples. He changed the protocols, he changed the methods, he changed the practices so that everything will go along smoothly and with great devotion for the Lord. So this was when he was appointed as the head of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, and he made Sri Rangam as his base. And in Sri Rangam, as we all know, there is a very famous temple of Lord Ranganath. So that is like the headquarters of protected. And nothing happened to him, no harm came to him. So in any case, because we were talking about Goshtipurna, I will connect this up with him. One time when Goshtipurna came to Sri Rangam, he had been hearing all these stories about these conspiracies going on against Ramanujacharya, and Goshtipurna became very worried. And he thought he had to come there to investigate the matter and see what could be done about it. So when the devotees led by Ramanujacharya heard that Goshtipurna was coming, so they all rushed to the direction from which he was expected. And they saw Goshtipurna walking. And Ramanujacharya prostrated himself on the hot burning sands on the banks of the river Kaveri. At that time, generally the custom is that when one, offers obeisances to an exalted personality, one should not rise till that exalted personality asks one to rise. Of course, nowadays we offer and it's expected and it is that we will offer obeisances and rise. But at that time, this custom was followed very strictly. Now, Goshtipurna did not ask Ramanuja to rise. And Ramanuja lay there on the burning sand, fully prostrated. Now, there was one of Ramanuja's disciples whose name was Kidambi Achan. And he could not bear to see this. So, he So he protested to Goshtipurna and said, "Oh my dear master, how can you do this? The sand is so burning hot that even our feet are burning. And here Ramanuja is lying on the burning sand in front of you offering obeisances, and you're not asking him to rise." So what Kidambi Achan did is, he went straight and physically lifted Ramanuja's body up, and he lay on the sand and placed Ramanuja's body on himself. Because Ramanuja's body must have been singed, so then he called him and he lifted him and placed him on his body. So Goshtipurna was very happy to see this, and he raised both of them and said to Kidambi Achan that, "Yes, you are the right person." He said, "Right person for what?" He said, "I deliberately did not ask Ramanuja to rise because I wanted to see who amongst all of you assembled here would have protested and done something to counteract the burning that Ramanuja was experiencing as he lay on the hot sand here. So it shows to me that you are the one whom I can entrust for the protection of Ramanuja's life. So henceforward, you should take charge of Ramanuja's kitchen." And you should ensure that only food, the prasadam that is totally safe, is given to him. So in this way we see that Goshti Purna, he protected Ramanuja like this. So this is how the world is, that even saintly devotees like Ramanuja, they find people who try to even poison them. So this came from not some strange people, but from the priests. So Goshti Purna was very concerned for Ramanuja's welfare. And then he understood that he tested the devotees of Ramanuja and said, yes, this is the devotee to whom I can entrust the safety of Ramanuja. So very, very interesting about how devotees can be tested sometimes. Then Kidambi Achan took charge of the kitchen of Ramanuja, and he has said actually that the spiritual tradition of Ramanujacharya has actually emerged from his kitchen. A very important statement. Because the kitchen gives us food, but we don't take ordinary food, we take Krishna Prasadam. So actually the kitchen is probably the most important place in our house, next to the altar. And it is as good as the altar actually. So therefore the standard in the kitchen should also be like we have in the altar. Because whatever we cook in the kitchen, we are going to offer on the altar. So we must expect very good standards of cleanliness and behavior within the kitchen room. So we should go there with the clean body, after having taken a bath, with clean clothes, with a clean mind. Everything in the kitchen should be clean. The utensils should be clean. The platform should be clean. The floor should be cleaned. The ingredients should be cleaned. And then with a devoted heart, we should cook for the Lord. And then we take it to the Lord in His deity form and offer it with love, and that becomes prasadam. And this will actually affect the consciousness very, very significantly. So even in our temples, actually the kitchens should be the places where very high standards are followed. Devotees who have a lot of devotion should be there so that they can cook with love, following all the standards, and then that is offered to the Lord. In fact, in Prabhupada Lilamrit, I think we hear one of the followers of Srila Prabhupada's saying, and that Prabhupada said, ours is the kitchen religion. Because Srila Prabhupada did exactly that. Along with chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and giving lectures in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, he also profusely distributed prasadam. He had what he later called the ISKCON bullets. He would make gulab jamuns with his own hands, offer to Krishna, and then distribute that. And those bullets destroyed the materialistic tendencies of his students. And they all became surrendered devotees. So we see the importance of the kitchen. Apart from the health angle, that if what is cooked is not appropriate and we can fall sick, more dangerous than the physical sickness is the spiritual sickness. So this statement from Kadambi Achan, who was the cook at the personal kitchen in charge of Ramanujacharya, his statement that the spiritual traditions of Ramanujacharya emerged from his kitchen is a very important lesson for all of us. I'd like to say one last pastime. We have about 7 minutes more. One time, Srila Ramanujacharya was traveling, going from place to place for his missionary work. When he arrived in one village, there were 2 of his disciples who lived there. One was a wealthy person called Yajnesh, and the other was a very poor person called Varadacharya. So when Yajnesh heard that his Guru Ramanujacharya had come in the village, he was overjoyed. And he gave instructions to his servants to make all sorts of grand arrangements for the welcome of Ramanujacharya to his home. He arranged for many delicious items of food to be prepared, and he arranged for nice living quarters for Ramanujacharya, etc. However, he neglected one thing. There were many disciples of Ramanujacharya who were traveling with him. And Yajnesh was so engrossed in trying to make arrangements for Ramanujacharya's hospitality that he neglected to arrange for the hospitality for the devotees, the other devotees, the disciples of Ramanuja, who were hungry and exhausted after having walked for such a long distance, going from village to village. They used to travel on foot in those days because there was no other mode of transportation available. So Ramanujacharya understood this. He got a report. He saw his disciples hungry and not tended to. So he decided not to go to the house of Yajnesh, and he went to the house of Varadacharya, who was very poor. Now it is another pastime that needs separate narration about what happened there. But in any case, he went there and he had his prasadam there. So when Yajnesh understood that Ramanuja was not going to come to his house, he was very disappointed. And he went to Ramanujacharya and offered his obeisances and asked him why he didn't come to his house for prasadam. So Ramanujacharya was very straightforward. He said, even though you are a disciple, you have been initiated, but still you will not be considered a real Vaishnav, a real devotee, unless you learn to serve all the devotees of the Lord with your heart and soul. It's not that you should only serve your Guru and disregard the other devotees. So a real Vaishnav is one who actually becomes a servant of all the other devotees. And because you have refused to do this, then what is the meaning of all your initiation and so on? So many devotees were here, they had traveled a long distance on foot, and they were exhausted, they were tired, and you did not offer them hospitality, you did not have time. So therefore, I did not go to your house because you are just a wealthy person who wants to make a show of hospitality to spiritual people. When such Vaishnavas come, one should offer them cheerfully and invite them into the home with sweet words, give them nice places to sit, if possible wash their feet even, and feed them some nice prasadam, give them place to rest. And you have neglected to do all this. So Vaishnavism or devotion to the Lord is not simply a matter of just exhibiting one's wealth and trying to gain some prestige as being very charitable and getting some reputation as being one who has hosted some devotees in the house and so on. That is not what Vaishnavism is about. So this was quite a severe reprimand from Ramanujacharya to his disciple. Fortunately, Yajnesh was very humble. He took it in the right spirit. He did not get angry. He did not take offense to this. Oh, how can he speak to me like this? And I'm also a devotee. And he didn't come, he insulted me. My Guru went to some other place. And he spoke so harshly to me. To Yajnesh's credit, it must be said that he did not have this kind of attitude. He accepted humbly everything that Ramanuja said. And Ramanuja therefore was very pleased with him and offered him his blessings. So we see that here are some lessons to learn. The most important lesson to learn is that we must become the servant of the devotees. And we must serve all devotees. Certainly, exalted devotees must get some special preference. We must speak to them in a way that is befitting their exalted status. But that does not mean that we should neglect the other devotees. We must also, with great devotion, with great faith and care, serve all the devotees. And if we don't do that, and we serve only those who are exalted devotees, then that will not please the exalted devotees also. So this is a very important point for us, that we must serve even the simplest of devotees. We should not think, oh, this is just an ordinary devotee. Oh, this is just a simple devotee. I'll only serve the important devotees. No, we should serve all the devotees with our full heart. That is when Krishna will be really pleased with us. So we learn this very important lesson from Srila Ramanujacharya, who said actually that the greatest service one can do is to serve the devotees of the Lord. So a very, very important lesson to learn. In fact, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, has taken 2 points from each of the 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas. And the 2 points that he took from the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya are the principle of Shuddha Bhakti, or pure devotion to Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu. And the second is the principle of Vaishnava Seva, of serving without any discrimination the Vaishnavas with a full heart and in full faith and with full care. So it goes to show, therefore, that the principle of Vaishnava Seva is important, and this is accepted not just in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, but it is a statement of the Bhagavatam, of all the Vedic literatures, and even in the Gaudiya Sampradaya it is emphasized very, very much. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught about this as being how we should be Gopi Bhartuhu Padakamalayor Dasa Dasanu Dasaha. We should be the servant of the devotees. So in this way, Ramanuja's lesson to Yajnesh is very, very important for all of us. Okay, so it is 8 o'clock now, and I will stop. And if you have any questions related to the class today, kindly ask them now.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
I hope you were able to all able to hear what I'm saying. Was the volume loud enough for you to hear?
Yes, Maharaj. We could hear you very, very clearly.
Yeah, that I was trying to speak a little loudly because I wasn't sure. Okay.
So Maharaj, we'll just look for questions from the devotees from the chat, and we'll pass them on to you. Would that be fine, Maharaj?
Yes.
So we have one question that one devotee is asking, that how can we stop ourselves, because we talked about not neglecting any devotee and serving all devotees, not offending any devotee. So how can we stop ourselves from offending devotees, like when we have these tendencies in our life?
By realizing the value and the position of devotees and not taking them for granted. Ati parichayat avajna. There is a proverb in Sanskrit which is roughly equivalent to the English proverb of familiarity breeds contempt. So we should not let that happen amongst devotees. Because when we interact very closely with devotees, we are likely to see some minus points, or even if there are no minus points, we will try to find some fault. That is a natural tendency in this age of Kali. So we have to guard against that and see their good qualities. And whenever we see this tendency of criticizing or offending Vaishnavas arising within the heart, we should immediately uproot that tendency. The next question that I see here is, so did Ramanujacharya meet Yamunacharya in his lifetime? Not personally. When Yamunacharya came to Sri Rangam, he saw Ramanuja from a distance. Ramanujacharya did not see him, but Yamunacharya, or he may have seen him, but he didn't have a chance to get personal association. But Yamunacharya saw him, and he understood that this is the person who is going to continue my mission. So he called for Ramanuja when he was in his last moments, and Ramanuja rushed from Kanchipuram. I think Yamunacharya saw Ramanuja at Kanchipuram when he had come for a visit. And when Yamunacharya in Sri Rangam was in his last moments, he called for Ramanuja. Ramanuja rushed from Kanchipuram to Sri Rangam, but he was too late. By the time he reached there, Yamunacharya had already left from this world and gone to the Vaikuntha world. So this was how it happened.
Thank you, Maharaj. We have another question. That sometimes, even though we want to, we cannot serve all devotees. And it's possible that some devotees may get offended, even though they may perceive that we neglected them.
Well, it is natural that we may not be able to serve every single devotee, but we have to try to serve as many devotees as possible. And the idea is that, let's say you are hosting somebody, then you should serve everyone who has come to your place. Or if there are guests who have come to some temple, then all the visitors to the temple must be looked after nicely. So yes, we may not be able to serve everyone, but we should try to serve as many devotees as possible nicely. And devotees also are practical, so they will understand. I think there is one raised hand. Yes. You will have to unmute yourself.
We have another question, Maharaj, in the meantime.
Yes.
Okay, it's slightly unrelated question. I'll ask one related question, Maharaj. That we said that we should not lose heart and get discouraged in Krishna consciousness, right? And remain determined. Practically, we see in our life that many times we find that setbacks happen because ourselves we end up making some mistakes and are not behaving correct spiritually, right? And sometimes we start feeling that there is no hope for us, and we are getting that we are not really improving even after so much time. So how should we really?
Well, that is why we hear such pastimes of exalted devotees, and we get inspiration from that. And we should also enthuse each other to remain enthusiastic, so that the enthusiasm does not diminish. Okay? And I think one devotee has been raising her hand for a while. Can allow. Yes. Hare Krishna, you may ask your question.
And I'm from Kolkata. I just want to know if you devote yourself purely to Lord Krishna, spiritually, mentally, physically, from soul and heart. So, can Lord Krishna become your super soul?
Now, Lord Krishna is already the super soul in everybody's heart. Lord Krishna is there along with this individual soul in the heart of every living entity. It is just that we do not have the vision to understand the presence of the Lord in our heart. So when we become purer by the practice of Krishna conscious sadhana, then we will become aware of the presence of the Lord in the heart. Krishna is already there. Okay?
I understand, Prabhuji. Thank you. One more question, please. You also said that we should worship devotees of Lord Krishna, right?
Yes.
Right, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Being a Hindu, can a Krishna devotee also worship Lord Shiva, who is the greatest devotee of Lord Krishna?
Yes, certainly. the devotees of Lord Krishna will also worship Lord Shiva but understanding Lord Shiva to be the greatest Vaishnava, not with the idea that Lord Shiva is a supreme controller. Okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank
Okay,
you.
now there's some questions. What is the best way to serve the devotees in the pandemic? One way is to wear a mask when you go out and talk to them. Be at a distance. Okay, do that. Now, since you asked that, I will tell you all a little joke, okay? So, you know that Yamaraj gets everybody to, he calculates everybody's karma and then he has to see the reactions, etc. So, he asked his secretary, Chitragupt, so what is happening on earth? What is the report? So Chitragupt replied, it's a pretty bad situation there and I'm finding great inconvenience. So what happens is there is a coronavirus pandemic going on there. So Yamaraj said that pandemic is an inconvenience to them. Why is it inconvenient to you? He said, because when I go there to do my work, I have to identify who is who to take them to you. But when they wear masks, I can't identify them. So I don't know now who is who. So then Yamaraj asked him, he said, what do you do then? How do you solve your problem? He said, I take away those who are without a mask, because then I can easily see them. So anyway, the point is, one way you can serve the devotees in this pandemic period is to ensure that we do not infect them. So when we are near devotees or with anybody actually, we should be careful to wear our masks so we don't infect others. Of course, that is at one level. And we can encourage each other in Krishna consciousness at this time because it is a very difficult period for everybody. If anybody is having difficulty, we can try to help. If somebody is feeling a little down in their spiritual life, we should try to encourage them. In this way, we can help the devotees.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Okay.
One last question, Maharaj. Someone is asking that can you also please tell us the mantra that Goshti Purna told Ramanujacharya that we are not supposed to do?
Well, there was the Om Namo Narayanaya, that is the mantra. But there were also other teachings that Goshti Purna gave Ramanujacharya. But the mantra that Ramanujacharya spoke out loudly, it is said to be this mantra, Om Namo Narayanaya, which is widely chanted in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. Okay, so I think we will halt here. And I do hope that wherever all of you are well and safe, and that you are taking all the precautions against the coronavirus pandemic. I also hope that you are able to do your Krishna consciousness very nicely. So please take care of each other, whoever is around you at this time. It's a very difficult period. Now in India, we are having the second wave, third wave, fourth wave. It is much stiffer than the previous. So do help each other to stay safe and Krishna conscious. So thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.